Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to This Will Be Named Later, a podcast about content creators, the creative culture, if you will. Now, this is a part where I act all professional and tell you what the podcast is about, but I'm not really good at being professional, so let's just keep it a buck. And like I said, we talk about creators from all walks of life, from all mediums, modders, podcasters, video content creators, vloggers, bloggers, everybody in between. But more specifically at this juncture, we're talking about wrestling creators because a lot of us are underserved in the wrestling community, but there's a lot of us creating content and a lot of content that needs to be consumed, that needs to be known about, and needs to be discussed, distributed, and brought forth into a bigger light. So I hope that with this podcast, we can do that and shine a light on some of these people that are making dope ass stuff for the wrestling community. And now a word from our sponsor.
OCWFED is a hybrid pro wrestling e-fed that combines elements of role play and competitive play using the WWE 2K franchise. Whether you're on PlayStation or Xbox, OCWFED is a creative outlet for gamers and pro wrestling fans alike. With over 16 years experience producing weekly content and live Twitch events, OCWFED has a thriving community with handlers from all over the world. If this sounds like your cup of tea, come check us out at OCWFed.com, OCWFedTV on YouTube, and OCWFed on Twitch. It's like D&D for wrestling nerds.
Hello, friends. My name is JCS. This will be named later, and my next guest is Kirby Carreon, not like the cross. You can find him at the CWL Universe on twitch.tv. The CWL Universe. This was a wonderful conversation. This was a great talk. A lot of talking shop. A lot of myself that I see in him, which I'll repeat a billion times because you know how I do. Competitive like a mug. So this is my talk with Mr. Kirby Carreon. If you like what we're putting down, don't forget to hit like and subscribe on the YouTube page. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on good old iHeartRadio, or anything in between, including Anchor, please feel free to leave a positive review. All right, I'm done with the shilling. Let's start the show in 3, 2, 1. Let us go.
Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 11, I hope, of This Will Be Named Later, a podcast for content creators. With me today is the owner of CWL, Kirby Carreon. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. All right, so we spoke a little bit off camera or off microphone. So generally I have just basic, questions. I should start like a casual conversation, but for some reason I got into the habit of doing the whole spiel of an interview, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But anyway, so the first opening question that we always begin is when did you become a wrestling fan?
I actually, funny story, I know exactly when to pinpoint it because I was in, I want to say 6th grade in middle school, and somebody was like, hey, there's this wrestling thing happening called WrestleMania that I think you would really like. Because at the time, I had actually just moved from Mexico, and so I liked luchadors. That was just kind of like, my kid thing. It was lucha style is a very big thing in Mexico. So I was like, oh yeah, like the masks and everything. I'm going to love that. So they let me borrow a tape of WrestleMania 20. And I just fell in love with it right after that because I saw Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle. And that was when I was like, this stuff's incredible. I love this. So ever since then, I've always said March 14th, 2004 is the day I actually fell in love with professional wrestling because that was the day that WrestleMania aired.
I love the fact that you have it pinpointed down directly to the date. Those were the good times. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, around those times. A little bit of the ruthless aggression era, and then after that, it kind of just lost me. Maybe not you, but wonderful question. I didn't expect such a great answer. Damn. All right, well, you're professional, obviously. The next one, and I shouldn't even be saying what I should just say it, but whatever. What would you say is your earliest wrestling related video game memory? Let's see if you got the hat trick now.
All right, I definitely know this one as well.
Yes.
The first thing that I ever did with any kind of wrestling video game was Raw 2 on the Xbox. The funny thing, the reason I remember this so vividly is because my friend that got into wrestling with me, we played over, I want to say maybe 1,200, maybe 1,300 hours on Raw 2
Wow.
because we had our own version of what would now be the universe mode in the 2K games, and we had like notebooks upon notebooks upon notebooks of stuff of us having like the wrestlers fight each other and stories and this and that. And the funny thing that I remember about that time, I had no idea what a face was. I had no idea what a heel was. I just know that it was in the game. And I remember that Mike Chioda counted incredibly fast. So he was always our referee for all of our matches. And I started getting a lot more into like the IWC mentality of wrestling when I started playing Raw 2 because I was like, what's a face? What's a heel? And then I just kind of started learning from there.
You know what? I actually had this discussion maybe a couple days ago. We were talking about like our favorite wrestling games, and a bunch of people said Raw 2, and I'm like, how could you say that? Because I'm a bit older than you, so like I had the No Mercies, and I had like WrestleMania 21, Virtual Pro Wrestling, Here Comes the Pain, da 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 da. But Raw 2 sticks out for a lot of people. I did not like Raw 2, but Raw 2 brought in a whole bunch of features that were way ahead of its time. And this, just like you said, everybody that we had this discussion with Raw 2, they basically did the same thing, and they had their own kind of like universe setup. Or when you pick whatever, someone said like they would have to pick stuff, but they couldn't see what their friends were picking, so they had to turn their backs or whatever. And it was just the same thing. For some reason, that game basically had the building blocks for, I guess, what happens now when it comes to these elaborate universe modes and whatnot. But it's just funny to say because I thought the game was dog shit because it played horribly. And this is someone who played versus 21. Oh my god! But I don't know, man. It's just I don't know. It's just kind of funny because usually you hear the go-to No Mercy, this that. You're the first person to say Raw 2, so shout out to you for that. You're knocking out the park so far. So
I think the biggest reason why I remember the fact that I love Raw 2 so much was because me and my friend actually commemorated the day where we hit 1,000 hours. Because the game in settings, it actually kept like a second track, like a to the second ticker of how long you've been playing the game.
Oh, word?
And we were like, oh, on the internet, it says that when you reach 1,000 hours, you unlock the elimination chamber. And back then, everybody believed the internet. So we were like, oh, we can't wait for the 1,000 hours. We hit 1,000 hours. We unlocked absolutely nothing. And we were devastated, but it was actually kind of hilarious. Now looking back at it, I was like, we really thought that this game was going to unlock something at the 1,000th hour. And then we ended up dropping 300 more hours on it after that.
I mean, if it's a good game, it's a good game. But like, you remember that though? Remember when the internet was like a fanciful place? Like if you were on the internet, it was strange, and you basically got information, and that was it. Maybe you had a MySpace page and whatever, but you didn't really hang on the page for too long. It was just I miss those times, man. Like I don't like what it is now, but that's a story for another day. You are the owner operator of the CWL. So I don't know how to phrase this question, but this was also a question on the Twitter machine by Funny Brain Games. He basically was a two-part question combined with my question, but how did you get the idea to create the CWL?
So basically about 4 years ago, because that's when 2K18 was barely about to come out, I started thinking like, how cool would it be if I had my character that I build every single year? That's kind of like, me in wrestling, but since we have like the community creations now, it's like, what if we brought in somebody like your favorite character or your character that you always build versus another person's favorite character, and then we just kind of like build a universe from there. And I just posted a question to Reddit, and a lot of people were like, yo, that actually sounds really, really cool. And so I started gathering everybody up. And I think it was like maybe a week or two into 2K18 coming out. That's when I launched it. And it was just basically everybody's character that they always build in one shared universe mode. And that's where the original idea came from. It's since evolved now, but that was my initial thing that made the CWL. That's why the name is incredibly unoriginal, but I stick by it because it's literally just Created Wrestlers League. That's what CWL stands for. So that's just kind of where I started, and now it's evolved to where it is now, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
I mean, the best ideas start with the simplest purpose. Like mine is OCW, and I added Fed to it because, you know, there's a million OCWs, but mine is Online Championship Wrestling. And then the Fed is like Federation, but I only do that because, as I said, and mine was essentially started because in, 2005, I always wanted to play like online against people and have these amazing matches and whatnot, because you would have these great matches with your friends offline. So it's like, why not expand the world? There's so many players to play with. Let's have these great matches. So I joined a league. I think it was called CWO, actually, as a matter of fact. I think it was Cyber Wrestling Association or whatever organization. And it was a horrible GeoCity site. You know, it was weird. Fought my first guy, which was like a Star Trek dude. So I was like, oh, we're going to fight, whatever. And basically I got cheesed out online. I'm like, this is terrible. So then I spoke to the owner. I'm like, hey, man, the owner basically told me to kick rocks. So then we had a rematch, me and the Star Trek dude. And then I cheesed him because he's like, if you don't want to have a good match, I want to have a good match. And he complained. And then I got reprimanded. I'm like, wait a minute. So I was like, you know what? Y'all have this. I'm going to go do my thing. I went to IGN boards and basically said, you know, hey, and people were like, you stink. 16 years later, 17 years later, I'm here and I'm talking to you, but it's not about me. It's about you. But it's just that these little ideas, they just get planted and you just get this steamroller going, and then it takes you to these different places. So with CWL, you told me at one point you were on Twitch, then YouTube, and then back to Twitch, or was it YouTube initially and then Twitch?
No, we started on Twitch because I know about, I want to say 6-7 years ago, I casually mentioned to my friends IRL that I think it would be really cool to be a streamer. I think it would be really cool, like not to just be on screen and play games, but you know, entertain people while you're playing games. And that's always something that I've had in mind, not just wanting to be a wrestler myself, but also just as a whole. I've always loved entertaining people. So that's why I wanted to become a Twitch streamer. So whenever this opportunity came up where I could start a Twitch channel, I was like, I'm just going to jump at it and I'm going to just learn as I go. And that's when we started on Twitch. And that was my reasoning for that. That way I could also interact with the community and just, you know, start building relationships with, you know, these people that I don't know. And maybe we could become family one day and stuff like that. So we started with that process. And then a few months in, we realized that as our format was changing, we couldn't keep up with it because I was working. Some of my people on my production team were working, and episodes were starting to have to get delayed over and over again. And I didn't want to have that. I wanted to ensure that no matter what, when we say we're going to release an episode, we're going to release an episode. So with everything that happened, we ended up just moving to YouTube and starting doing premieres instead. Because then it could be like, oh, it's live, but it's not really live because, you know, it's premiered.
Yeah, prepackaged.
But we still had the opportunity to create everything on the back end and then just premiere it and then just interact as a community. And I think what hurt us the most was the fact that on Twitch, I could talk to people like face to face and everything while I was live. On YouTube, I couldn't because YouTube didn't have streaming then. So I don't regret the move to YouTube. It was necessary to find our groove, but I'm very glad that we're back on Twitch and that I'm able to do what I wanted to do with entertaining people and everything.
You know, it's funny when you were telling that story, I just had like a smile on my face because it reminds me of the horse crap from back in the day. Like, we started so long ago that people were saying go to YouTube. So I tried to go to YouTube, and this is when YouTube was basically you get 10 minutes or whatever. So like, yeah. So first of all, like at one point we tried to we had a produced show, but we had to upload it in like 10 different increments. So that sucked. And then they were so strict with the audio, like, you know, so entire episodes were muted. And I'm like, this is stupid. So like, basically I went back to what I used to do, which is hosting everything on the internet. Like you would be able to watch the videos through like at the time Silverlight Media Player from Microsoft, and that worked out for great. And then eventually ISPs and hosts were like, no, you can't do that anymore. You know, no space for you, buddy. So that sucked. And then we went to YouTube in 2018, and then it's been pretty decent ever since. But the fact that you said that, you know, you didn't want to delay shows and you wanted to keep things timely, same issue. At one point, you know, it would be like, hey, there's a show, when's the show? Oh, it's on a Friday. What time? Whenever it's out. Now it's actually a schedule. Like the videos start at 6, or the pay-per-views at the end of the month, at 3 p.m. on Saturday, sometimes Sunday if it's a 2-day show. So a lot of people don't understand because everybody nowadays, as you would know, everybody in, I guess if you would call it call or created or whatever, has a league. Everybody's Triple H, everybody's Vince McMahon, but there's very few people that are actually consistent with what they do. And I will put you as one of those people. And shout out to PWR and shout out to CPW as well, who are also consistent in what they do. And that's a commodity that a lot of people aren't like accustomed to. They don't, some people basically, it's like water in the desert. Like, oh, hey, well, it's a show, so we'll do it. So they'll have these shows that are, every 3 months. Whereas you are on the grind. Every time I look at your Twitter, it's like, I want to go back to work. I gotta work. I want to go back. Yep. Damn it, I'm off. I want to. Hey, can we can do a podcast, but can you do this day? Because I'm busy. I'm working, and you're working, and that tireless effort, that passion, that drive, a lot of times you see it in a pseudo way, like people who, what's it called? Me and my friend, we make fun of it all the time. As a matter of fact, our mutual acquaintance, Brenda, his best friend, he's always making fun of grind the clock people. Oh, it's time to grind, those guys that they just post that inspirational horse shit. Whereas you're doing the work. So it's not a cape, but basically, I commend you and people like you who are just, they're not talking about it, they're just doing it, and they're doing what they gotta do, and they're putting in the effort, they're putting in the time. And with all things, when you put in the time, hopefully the universe, rewards you for it in whatever manner. So with that being said, with the CWL, I don't know. This is also with funny brain games. I don't know if that's how the second part will correlate. So hopefully you can answer it. But he also asked, how did the idea to create the show / community come about? The community aspect come about.
Like I said, I always knew that I wanted to entertain. That's just something that I thoroughly enjoy. It's not about being like the class clown or something like that, because I also was not the class clown.
Yeah.
But it's just, about putting a smile on people's faces. And, being a production assistant for Reality of Wrestling, I get to listen to Booker talk all the time about what wrestling's about. A lot of people are in it for themselves, but while that can be understandable because you're trying to make a living out of being a performer and everything, at the end of the day, it's not about you. It's about sending the fans home happy, because they're the ones that spent the money to go to an arena, to take time out of their day, maybe the last $15 out of their pocket, to pay for a ticket to come and see you. So why are you going to make this about you when it's about them and sending them home happy? So I take that mentality too, because when I'm live, I don't expect subs. I don't expect bits. I don't expect donations. I'm incredibly appreciative because it is my full-time job, but I would like to bring together a community that just forgets all the BS in the world that is always going on, whether it's politics, whether it's the environment, whether it is their rough life upbringing, whatever it may be. If they can take a few minutes, maybe hours out of their day to come into the stream, forget about it, relax, and have a good time while we're together, that's what I'm there for. And ultimately, in my heart, that's what I believe wrestling is, because that's what it did for me growing up. And I want to repay that favor as a part of the wrestling community.
I really wish I had the vernacular to express how lovely that was. I feel like, I don't know if it's just you particularly, but I feel like you have that energy where you're coming from a genuine good place. And that's a rarity a lot of times when it comes to quote unquote streamers and the entertainers, because, for every person, who's like, oh, I want to entertain and this, that, and the third, you also see that little bar on the bottom and, I guess what you would call it shilling and whatnot. And I've been to a couple of the streams when you had Battle Lines. I was there for a little bit. I'm not going to say I was there for the whole time, but I was checking in periodically. I was like, oh, man, look at this. And you raising money for charity, which is, it's just it's really good to give from the heart. And you could tell that when what you're doing, like, you basically come from a good place. And it's just kind of refreshing because honestly, with this hobby or this demographic, because again, this created genre section of, I guess, 2K or the hobby it's filled with a lot of narcissists, a lot of greedy people, a lot of, I guess, young people, like, or whatever. A lot of, I don't know, man, just not, what's the word I'm looking for? That's semi polite. A lot of jackasses, basically. Just self-serving jackasses, fly by night, this, that, and the third. It's about me. I want the clout. I want the clicks. I want the likes. I want this nonsense. Whereas you're basically, hey, man, let's come together. Let's have a good old time. Let's smile. Forget your nonsense. And what you kind of remind me of me, except the good version of me, because I'm kind of a bastard. But that's that's a whole different vehicle. So you stream full time. I want to know basically, in the pivot to going full time, like, did you encounter any kind of obstacles or issues along the way? Because streaming full time is tough, man, especially on like a platform like Twitch.
Well, I say I stream full time, but that's because I have the mentality that I stream full time. I don't have the income to stream full time.
Okay, gotcha.
I say I stream full time because that's literally what I do. In July was when it happened. My previous employer decided to let me go because I tested positive for the virus and I didn't feel comfortable going into work because obviously I'm positive, I'm infectious. That means that I could put somebody in danger, and that didn't make me feel comfortable.
Okay.
So I stood up for myself and I was like, hey, I'm not going to come in until I test negative because then I could really put somebody in danger. And they're like, oh, so you're saying you're not coming into work? Okay, cool. Then you're fired. And so ever since then, I actually just said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and take streaming full time because I can't find a job right now because it's the middle of the pandemic. Everything's closed. People aren't hiring. And so I just decided to go in and just dive completely in. This is my full schedule. I started doing stream upgrades. I got myself a fancy microphone. I got myself lights. I just got myself a new camera. All the things that streamers do. And I started putting more research into how to be a full-time streamer, what people recommend, what people do, et cetera, et cetera. And the funny thing is, I felt so lost being on Twitch, not knowing what the hell I'm doing. And then one day I decided to look at the categories for 2K19. And I was like, okay, there's this guy up at the top every single time we stream. I need to figure out what he's doing. And I'm going to raid him, not because I want to be like, oh, I'm going to steal all your views. I'm going to see exactly what you're doing. But because I wanted to study a little bit about what made him successful, what made him get to the point where he is. And I rated him. And then after that, we've been friends for, I want to say 7 months now.
Okay.
And I watch his EFED more than anybody else's EFED. And him and I have begun trading back, like trade secrets, I guess you can call it.
Nice.
And I started realizing more of what EFEDs were. That's when I started realizing that there's more places like this out there.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And I've realized that the few people that I found on Twitch, the EFEDs that at least the circle that I run with, we're incredibly supportive of each other. We know that we have completely different facets to our EFEDs and everything. And we offer something completely different. We share some members, but ultimately we're not competing for those members.
Yeah.
We're just going to be like, hey, if you like the show, great. We're going to be here hanging out with you, relaxing and just enjoying the show. If you like my show, cool. Then you're going to be with us. But we literally share viewers to where it's not a competition of who can make it the best. It's a competition to see who can have the better show this week. So we're like, oh shit, okay, now I have to go watch that show because I heard it was amazing.
Yeah.
And it's a friendly competition. It's not about stealing viewers or being the better product or anything like that. So that was where all the doors opened. And ever since then, like my entire career on Twitch just completely turned around.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. Would you want to say who it is? Or you want to say it off mic or whatever? I don't know.
Worldsy. I wasn't sure if I was allowed to promote other people
you
or
can,
not. So
you know what's funny? If this was maybe 10 years ago, I'd probably be like no. But as you can see, I have my own spot and I'm going to everybody else. So yeah, no, it's my thing is like because what I do is player versus player, so that's a whole different animal. At one point, like 3 years ago, I was actually talking to call specific people because at one point I had like this attitude like you guys are just simulating matches. Ugh, AI. Ugh. We're actually fighting. So then I said, you know, let me not be a dick and let me talk to people. So I talked to people and I gained a pretty good understanding of how this stuff works. And I'm like, it's cool. And in my head, it's like, you know, it's different strokes for different folks. So it's like you can't really be judgmental. Like what I do is like, it's crazy. And the only reason I got as far as I got is because for the last couple of years, I have like 30 or 40 guys and gals who are, you know, who grind with me. They do the work, and then we sit there and we'll watch the shows on Friday or the last Saturday of the week or whatever, you know, as it goes. But like you, same thing. Like the only way I'm functioning is if I'm happy with what they're doing, because what I do, similar to you, is, you know, people like, thank you for this. It's an escape. Life stinks. I'm glad this is here. So as long as I have that, I'm good. As long as they do what they do, I'm good. But back to the point, it's essentially, you know, it's you got to make friends, and you just got to make sure you make friends with good people, because there's a lot of dirtbags out there. So my thing is, I've been trying to find good people, and you're definitely one of the good people. Like from what I've seen, also on the streams and whatnot, and what you built is also pretty. It's pretty. Like, I don't know, man. It's just, I hate that it sounds like I'm super cape, but it's not. It's like, yo, this dude's it's a good guy, man. If he was a dick, I'd tell him. I mean, I tell you now, and I tell you, you know, a thing, but you're not. You're like good people. So it's just
That's
good.
That's how I feel my relationship with Defixa is as well. Shout outs to Defixa from Twitch. We had a phone conversation where I, like, you know, him and I were just talking back and forth, and just, you know, he came from Mixer. So he already had his following, and then he moved to Twitch, and he was always kind of like apprehensive of reaching out to other EFED owners. Because he didn't want to be treated like, oh, he's a Mixer guy, whatever. And, you know, I welcomed him in, and I said, hey, what's up and everything. And Defixa has that same mentality. If I don't like you, I'm going to tell you. So don't fake support me just because you want something out of me. Tell me straight up. And so I was like, yo, dude, like Defixa, that's literally me. Like, I'm not going to tell you I'm at your stream. I'm probably just going to lurk. And I'm probably just going to sit here and, you know, enjoy your show. And I'm just going to, and I even told him, like, hey, do you want me to bring in a character that your people can beat up and just kind of like, you know, kind of like a jobber, I guess. And he's like, no. If you want to be here, you're going to be here. I was like, okay, fantastic. And he was straight up with me. And I appreciate that, because I would much rather you think that you're being a dick, but tell me exactly what you want than to be like, oh, no, maybe not. I don't know. Like, no, be straight up. I can take it. I'm grown.
be honest, dude. That's basically what it boils down to. Be honest. Again, like, so I seen the only way I saw you a couple of times on Reddit. But, you know, when you have your own stuff, it's really hard to pay attention to other things. You just kind of see it, and then you're like, oh, okay, whatever. So the main bridge is Valkyrie. So Valkyrie was at my spot for, like, I don't know, maybe 2-3 years. Then Valkyrie became the champion, and then Valkyrie was like, Valk did what Valk had to do, and basically the tour of duty was done for more or less. Valk was, you know, the up and coming rookie, won WrestleMania or our WrestleMania, then the next one that, you know, came close to the title, then the next one finally won the title, and basically the arc was done. You know, what we do, player versus player, can be incredibly stressful, and the community can be very, very, like, you know, like I'll sit there on Discord, like even today, like, because my show was today at 6 p.m. on youtube.com/OCWFedTV. Anyway, but during the after the stream was done, I'm like, I didn't raise y'all like this, because they're all rowdy and whatever. I'm like, and they're like, oh, this is your fault. I'm like, no. I am the good dad, and y'all are just bad children. It's not I'm a good parent. Y'all just bad kids. That's basically it. Like, I tried to raise y'all right, but y'all bad. So basically, Valk, you know, I say that to say that Valk, you know, moved on, and then Valk became a content creator, and Valk got really good with content creation. And then the blessing, I'm like, yo, I don't owe you anything. I mean, you don't owe me anything. Thank you for asking, but no, do you. I don't care. Good, I support you. And then Valk showed up on CW. I was like, cool, let me check this out. And I saw it, like, oh, snap. So I was like, let me check out CWL a little bit. So I, you know, checking in here and there. And then I started this thing again where I'm trying to talk to all kinds of creators and Fed guys and everybody in between. And then we fast forward, and I was like, you know what? Let me see if this guy, like, will talk to me. And sure enough, it's not an issue. So we started talking, and then I saw, because I only do Twitch once, like, you know, every couple of weeks, because I don't know, it's tough for me. So I saw, hey, I got a sub. Who did? oh shit, that's a really you didn't have to do that. So I'm like, oh no, I don't know what to do. So I sent you one, but I sent you with my other account because my other account is the one that has it. I didn't say anything. I was like, karma, because like you said, I'm not trying to be like, hey, I subbed you back, bro. It was with the with the other account. I think it was the same day. If you want to ask me after, I'll tell you who it was. But yeah, I was like, all right, the karma scales are even. But the point was that you don't know me from a hole in the ground, and you decide to just do a nice gesture. Again, a rarity when it comes to this. And like you said, there's so many people out there who will be like, oh, let me follow this guy. Oh, here's some likes. Here's some retweets. Oh yeah, they're the best. They're the best. They're the best. Oh, let me hop on a stream. Oh, this is amazing. And then, within a week, the rub, hey, would you like to da-da-da-da-da? I was like, Like, that happened to me a couple times. Like, it's like, no, dude, don't. Just, if you cool, we cool. If you not cool, I can't F with you, son. Like, don't do that. Just be honest and just be straight up front. So, with that being said, technically you said why you're full-time streamer, but with the COVID stuff, they didn't give you the option to like, work from home or anything like that, or?
No.
Jesus.
What I did sales for tractors and lawnmowers and stuff. So I could work from home, but I would be completely, just always on the phone, and I would never be able to show off the equipment. So I would basically have to, I would have to be there to show it off and, kind of like, sell it to people. So
Gotcha.
Unfortunately, that was not a choice. But again, it was, I believe that everything happens for a reason. I really, really do.
Okay.
And I'm going to circle this back to wrestling, like real wrestling. But I am a big, gigantic fan of Sami Zayn.
Yes.
And the whole Road to Redemption is like my favorite story. If you go on Reddit and you look up 30 matches in 30 days, day 17, I wrote that. That was my writing because I was the one that wrote about Sami Zayn and Neville being the greatest match I've ever seen. And to this day, I stand by that because at the end of the day, Sami Zayn's ideals were challenged. Are you going to use the title to smack Neville in the face and win the belt? Or are you going to stick to what you believe in, be the good guy, and still win? So when he holds the title and he's just shaking his head, he's like, no, that I'm not going to do that. He just drops it. And then, he gets rolled up. He still kicks out. And then he has a gigantic look of determination in his face. He just wipes the sweat off and he goes for the haluva kick and he wins. That is like the ultimate thing that speaks to my heart. That's like the good guy always wins. Stick to your ideals, stick to what you believe in, and you're going to get rewarded. That's what I did when I stood up to my boss. I was like, I don't feel comfortable coming in. So I was fired, and it probably was a really bad time in my life, but I turned it into making this full time. And the growth that this channel has had ever since July is astronomical over what I've done anything over the past 3 years. So I know for a fact that this was the best decision I've ever made so far.
Hey man, that's the beauty about youth. You get to try and you get to pivot and you get to grow, you get to change, and there's always room to like, just always something on the horizon as long as you keep moving forward and you keep pressing forward. And it's funny what you say because my boy, he's also my boy. You're from Texas, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, ROW's from Texas too, but I had to double check because you might have a long ass commute from Louisiana. I don't know, but my boy is also from Texas, and he does the same thing. It's like I'll say something horrible happened to me, happened for a reason. I'm like, I don't believe that's the case, but he's like, no, it happened for a reason. It's like, all right, man, we'll see what happens. So like, shout out to you, bro. So moving right along. When it comes to full-time streaming, like I said, you're always working. So give us like a rough example of your typical workflow. I don't know if you want to do a week, or if you want to do maybe a day on your workflow, like a breakdown of like how you do what it is you do, the magic or the secret, maybe not without the secret sauce, but maybe some of the magic, some of the big magic, not the sauce.
I can definitely work throughout the whole week because I'm very schedule oriented, very, very schedule oriented. So my Mondays, I wake up and I look through my booking sheet because for booking for CWL, it's not done by me. It's done by the community. It's basically your character. The way the show's evolved, it's come down to this is your character. I know nothing about them. So you're going to be the one to tell me the story. whoever you want to face, you guys craft the story, send it to me. I'll put it in my booking notes, and I'll make sure that everything that you want happens every week. You want to fight this person this week? Great. You want a jobber match this week? Great. You want a promo segment this week? Great. I can do that. And that way they're the ones telling the story to the rest of the community. Because I feel, especially being a part of the wrestling world, I see a lot of promoters not seeing the value in a lot of talent because they just don't get it. And that's also because sometimes you just need a little bit of an explanation to be like, oh, hey, maybe I will get it, but I need to explain it first. So I give everybody an opportunity to come in here, be the character that you want to be, and then, tell your story based on that. And whoever you want to work with, you guys plan it. I just put it together. So on Monday, I looked through my booking notes. I book my card for the week, and then I send that over to my match card graphic maker and my announcer. That way they know, and they can just send those in whenever. That way I can edit all that in. And then I put out a preview of the card. That way people are like, oh, snap, this match is happening. Or, oh, hey, this is happening. It's kind of just like a little bit of a buildup.
Sure.
On Tuesday, I stream. And then after I'm done with streaming, I do all my updates. If anybody wants to change an attire, change moveset, change this, change that, whatever it is. And then I record. Then on Wednesday, I look through my booking sheet again to see what segments need to be recorded. And I record the segments, whether it's a promo, an attack, whatever it may be. I get to work on it. And the reason I take a full day to do that is because I recently found out how to actually move people around the arena. So if they want to do like a promo in the backstage area, we can do that. If we want to do it in Tijuana, Mexico, we can do that. If we want to do it like on the side, on the ring side or something, we can do that. And I'm starting to have a lot of fun just moving people around and just being like, oh, we can actually do segments here. We can do this. And it's just, it starts letting my imagination run wild. Then Thursday, that's my semi-off CWL day because I do the WSSL, which is our spinoff series, kind of like fantasy sports.
Sure.
And then Friday, I finish editing everything and I edit my shows. And then Saturday or Sunday morning, we do commentary. And then Sunday is the release for the episodes. And that's kind of the week.
Okay, so how many episodes do you do a week?
There's an episode of Genesis on Saturday, which is our introductory show. There's no editing or no segments for that. It's just, hey, here's your character, you promo, I book based on what you promoted, and then it's live. I'm there on camera. I welcome everybody in, and it's very loose, very fun, just a day to hang out with the community and look at the new wrestlers. Kind of like NXT and Dark put together.
Gotcha.
And anybody new that starts will always start on Genesis. And then if I see that they have the potential to really be like the storyteller that they want to be, or it fits in the CWL main roster, then I bring them onto the main roster when they tell me that they want to move up. And then I basically make that decision. It's like, okay, so you have been here for so-and-so. You've been here for this long. You've had this many matches. You're actually telling big stories. And I can see that you have that, like, that want to tell more stories. Now you're going to have the whole production team behind you. Do you need segments? Do you need an announcer? Like, what do you want? And then we just kind of make it happen from there. And then on Sunday, we released our main roster shows, which is Vindication and Nemesis. And that's basically 2 fully produced shows every week.
And Vindication and Nemesis, are they at the same days or separate days?
Yes, they're both on Sunday, right back to back. In canon, they're on different days.
Okay.
But for the sake of me airing them together,
yeah, I gotcha.
Currently, they're airing on the same day, back to back.
I get it. I get the whole the canon and whatever. Like what I do is I had we built a PS4 division in 2016, and then basically would have, at one point we had, back in the early 2000s, we had like 4 shows a week, which was insane. Now we do 1 show a week and we rotate. Riot, which is on a Friday, and then Turmo, which is also on Friday. Riot is more specifically Xbox folks, and then some PS4, and then Turmo is more specifically PS4 folks and some Xbox folks. That's basically what we do. But so people go, oh, so is it 1 show? It's like, no, but it's like 1 show a week. Like, yeah, but it's not 2 shows a week. Like, no. So I get the whole like, well, we're just running it back to back because it can, Sometimes you got to make these concessions, and you just, when people ask you questions, you got to be like, shut up, shh, don't think about it, don't think about it. So when it comes to, you said like telling good stories, and what takes, you know, to move up from Genesis to, I guess, the main roster. Have you ever had, and this is me trying to kind of fish for drama, so I apologize if it sounds like that, because that's exactly what it is. I try not to, but I always find like drama stuff interesting, because I always try to figure what goes through some of these people's minds when it comes to this kind of stuff.
I live for drama.
You do? Really?
Okay, here's my thing with drama.
Go ahead.
I love listening to it.
You
I
know, like,
love
yeah.
being like, oh my God, this sounds so dumb, and I love it.
Yeah.
But I hate being a part of it.
Fair. No, that's literally like you're basically like young me from Texas. Like you like all the comment, but better spoken, because I am a gorilla. But so what see, the only reason I love player versus player so much is because, like, for example, we do a combination of text and video role plays, and then competitive matches, and this whole big smorgasbord that's a combination of classic wrestling and then current modern day whatever the hell. But the thing is, the only reason I love player versus player so much is because it was an actual metric. So like, hey, this, if a guy goes, oh, I want to be the champion, I should be the champion, blah blah blah, I'm like, all right, well, fight the champion. Then when you get waffle stomped, you can't say nothing because you got beat up because you stink. That's what you get.
Yep.
You get that. There's one guy famously who ran his mouth. He ran his mother effing mouth. I should say fucking, but whatever. He ran his mouth, and I wanted to give him 2 title matches for each brand on the same night. He lost both, and then because he was who he was, he tried to like finagle not rematches, but redos essentially. So, oh, this match ended on whatever, so we have to redo the match. He did that twice, and he lost twice. So he essentially lost 4 times in one night, like for being, you know, and he shut up. Or there's one guy, oh, you're protecting so and so and so. So, all right, fine. So you fight him, and then he whoops your ass, and then you shut up. With text fedding, back in the day, the metric is who can be a better rider. That might be subjective, okay, but you can generally tell between someone who does this elaborate, crafted storyline and I'm going to beat you up, sissy, you know, so you can tell. So with CWL, what is the measure where you say, oh, hey, we're going to put the production staff behind this guy? And that being said, also, have you ever had someone show up and it's like, yo, I want to be the world champion? And then they're like, I'm on Genesis, and then week 2, I want to be on the main roster.
Well, Genesis just started about 5 months ago. We just did the 25th episode. So I haven't really had anybody come in and then immediately demand to be on the main roster yet. But the metric for us is just really like, for some reason, and this is what I'm still trying to figure out, a lot of people have a problem of not wanting to be champion, to where our champions end up being like, well, who do I face next? I'm like, well, we got this person. They're like, yeah, okay, we'll go for that person. And then that person doesn't respond, and they can't come up with a story. Yeah. So then our champion ends up not being on the show for a month. And I'm like, guys, like if I'm about to start having to force you to fight champions, I will. Like, I understand like the whole, I want to tell a good story, but sometimes your character, people want to see your character win a title. So why not just give them that? So, you know, it's been interesting ever since we got like this little push of the community over the past 7 months, because a lot of people are starting to get to the point where now they're like, I just want to tell a good story, which I appreciate. That's good. That's what we're here for. Yeah. I want to have good stories, but sometimes I also need contenders. And even if you lose now, there's a way to always spin both ends of the coin, because you can win and holy shit, now you're a champion, or you can lose. Well, I guess I wasn't ready yet. Now let's go tell a story. And, you know, at least we got that taken care of to now where the champion's like, well, I beat another contender. Who's next? And, you know, we can kind of just keep the line moving at that point. But it also just, again, comes down to what the stories that people want to tell. I always tell everybody when we start booking stuff and you're like, hey, can I do this? I'm like, if that's what you want to do, go for it. I can suggest something, but don't ever feel bad about telling me I don't like that story. I want to do mine. Great. That's your story for your character. We're going to run with that. And again, I just suggest things. I think something sounds cool, but if you don't, that's okay. My feelings aren't going to get hurt. I have 180 other characters that I can go run to ideas with. So no feelings there.
No, that's good. It's funny you mentioned this thing. There's a lot of parallels, because the same thing, like we'll have champions and they're like, oh, who do I fight? I don't know, man. you said, who do you want to fight? And then they'll suggest people like, that's not a good idea. Why would you suggest that? Like, why would you suggest a rookie, right? And then why would you suggest a guy that just lost a title match? Like, no, fight this guy. Leave me alone. Like, damn it. And then you got other guys who I don't even have to, who they're like, do I have to tell you what I'm doing? Like, nope, I trust you. Mm-hmm. Like, basically, I trust people until they give me a reason not to. And then I'm like, oh, well, it is what, because again, player versus player is a different animal, but it's funny that you say, I just want to tell good stories. It's like, you need people like that. And there's a guy, shout out to Justin Jess. He works with Rockets in New Zealand. Since he's been here, he's been on all of our like WrestleMania-esque shows, and he might not always be the greatest player, but he's one of the better writers and, entertaining. People love his character. So he always has like a reserved spot at our WrestleMania, which is hard to come by. It's like, people who tell good stories and you can trust. Like, yeah, of course you're all going to be on that show, the main show. You crazy? Of course. You do your job. Yeah, hell yeah. And then there's other people who you're like, you're going to have to show me something, bro. You got to have you got to show me a little something. But it's kind of like gnarly with that. So I know that you have it's the AI versus AI on the Xbox, but you said that everything is final, right? Like, do you if someone says that they want to win a match, do you run it till they win, or do you just run it and then if they win, they win, if they lose, they lose?
Rule number 1 of CWL is whatever's final happens. I have done no restarts. We have 2 matches in canon where the game glitched, and we just went with it. I think it's episode 115, I want to say, season 2 jailbreak. We had somebody go for a what was it? The Ember Moon's finisher.
Yeah, the Eclipse, yeah,
the Eclipse. And then the game glitched to where the guy's leg went through the ring and it started stuttering everywhere. And when we were doing commentary, I told the commentators, just sell it. Like, try your best not to laugh, just sell it. And we just finished the rest of the match with the glitch. My character, because I also have a character in the show, I ended up glitching because the ring started bouncing to where my character couldn't get up because the bounce was just too much. And that was earlier this season. So I was like, well, I guess I just lost. And I'm just going to blame the portal opening monkey that we have on the roster, that the portal just opened up underneath the ring and the gravity was too much or something. I forget how I covered for it. But we came up with the randomest shit to cover for what the graphical glitches are.
Yeah.
The only time I've legitimately had to restart a match was on Genesis, when I actually have it on the CWL YouTube, the Neon Panther glitch. There was a roll up where one of the characters kicked out, and for some reason they just froze.
Oh,
like, the game just made them freeze. It was a fatal 4-way. And the other 2 characters in the match would not break them up. They kept fighting. They wouldn't pin each other, nothing. So over 10 minutes, we literally stared at this for 10 minutes, laughing our asses off before I finally restarted, because the community was like, just restart it, dude. Just restart it.
Just do it.
So that was the first official restart that we ever did. And I immortalized it because the moment itself was just hilarious. And you can see me trying to hold it together on stream, but I can't, because it's the most ridiculous thing, especially when I try to move the controller over to the other character and try to break them up. It wouldn't happen. So I was like, this is officially broken and I hate it here. So I restarted it and we had a winner. And the best part about that too is I tell everybody, take what happens on the show and make a story out of it. The girl that did the roll up that froze time, she took that as a story thing. She's like, oh, I'm the Neon Panther now, and I control space and time. And now she's one of our mystical characters on the show.
She's Omega level?
Basically.
Nice. Yeah, we like, the rule on commentary is basically, just don't get yourself over. So thank God we don't do that. So there's been a couple times when we had like if players are playing really badly, that's when we'll kind of start digging at them. Like we had one this horrible match. It was on a pay-per-view, no less, when we were just getting our pay-per-view legs. Shout out to Jake Allen. That's my commentary guy. That's the guy who made commentary reality for the show.
I know that guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy, man. He's a great voice, and he works on my last goddamn nerve. Anyway, We, so when we were finding our commentary sea legs and whatnot, and you know, the match is so horrible, so we just started like, there was one match where I basically just started calling the match, but started using Michael Jackson song titles as the show goes. Like, oh man, that elbow was criminal, almost a smooth criminal. And I went like full tilt Michael Jackson, and he picked it up, so he started giggling a little bit, but then he started going like to Mariah Carey, and we just started naming songs during the show, but it was like mixed in with the match. And like some people caught it, some people were like, yeah, that was the funniest shit I've ever heard in my life, and some people were like, I don't understand that at all. But there was one match where like the one of the big house guys, like he did a diving move, and he literally like maybe made it about an inch, and Jake Allen was like the least distance traveled, whatever, by something, and like the entire place lost their goddamn mind. And it's just like the game provides, and the game also does not provide. But like you said, the same thing. We had the same I don't know what the word is, but the same analogy with, win or loss, figure it out. If sometimes a win, sometimes it's better to lose. It tells a way better story.
Yep. Because
you just bring it up, you run it back at a later date, and then that's the story. Like, you lost 3 months ago, and now the guy who beat you is the champion, and now you're like the number one contender. Can you do it? Can you finally avenge the loss? And that's how you get to where you got to get to. It's a beautiful thing when it happens. I know that in the CWO, you guys had like this match or this event, which was like bending time and space. I need to know what was the date on the very first, or how many times it happened? Has it happened more than once?
I think you're referencing the kaiju battle.
Yes,
that
there you
happened
go.
At Endgame 3.
Okay.
That I like to call that event peak CWL for now, because that was probably the most ambitious thing we've ever done. That was right after I got fired, right after I got let go for COVID.
Okay.
And so it was our season finale show, because Endgame is our mania. And I had the idea that one of the guys, his name is Matthew Ramirez, he's a huge Ninja Sex Party fan like myself. So I was like, you know what? We should do a kaiju battle. We'll do Rhinoceratops versus Super Puma, because that's one of my favorite Ninja Sex Party songs. And we'll just put you and this other guy in the kaiju costumes. He loved it. And I was like, all right, cool. So I got you in. I went to the other guy, who's one of our CWL day ones, and he's down for anything.
Yeah.
His character has been the most absurd thing we've ever had. He's literally a dictator of formerly known Guatemala, what is now known as Raymondonia.
Okay.
And the people worship him, or he thinks they do. And the native animal / best friend of Raymondo is Derek, who is a time-traveling gorilla who can't control space or time, but only when he sneezes. So when he sneezes, portals open. That's the premise of the kaiju battle. That's all you need to know.
Okay.
When the kaiju battle happened, we told everybody, you're not ready for the kaiju battle.
Yeah.
And nobody knew why, because everybody was just expecting a regular match. So right before the finish, we found a spot where somehow, luckily, the AI actually stopped. And we're like, yo, okay, this is where we do it. So one of the people that I like to call my producers, shout outs to Sophie, she worked on a whole segment where they literally jumped through space and time to continue the fight. And this was all a pre-recorded segment. So from the moment where the game decided to give us a good spot to transition it to the segment, we did that. And then I told her who won. That way she could make the ending based on who won. But she didn't want to know early ahead of time. So I was like, okay, then give me 2 endings. And so she gave me 2 endings. And I just put in the one that was the right one. And basically, Derek was assumed killed on episode 47, which was the go home for Endgame. And then during the segment, the Undertaker bell toll rings, and when the lights go out, the lights come back on, and it's Derek. So people were like, "Oh my God, it's Derek!" Because he came back, or we assume he came back to life. We assume he's dead. We really don't know. Derek's just an enigma.
Sure.
And he started sneezing all over the place, and a portal opened. And that's the one where Raymondo speared Matthew Ramirez through it, and they ended up at 2K18 at Endgame 1, so 2 years prior.
Yeah.
And we actually got our commentators from that show to do a special set where, like, hey, we're not going to tell you what's going on. Just call this to the best of your ability, because they're no longer our commentators, because we moved on since, because they were not able to do it anymore.
Sure.
And so they loved it. They're like, yes, we're down for this. And they're like, okay, so we see Raymondo because he was there. He was actually at Endgame. And then it's like, but who is this other blue-haired weirdo? Like, we don't know who he is. Security, why are these two fighting? What's going on? A big blue thing just opened up here. And then as they're doing that, another portal opens. They go through that one as well. They end up in Fire Pro. They go through another portal, and then they end up in WWE 13. And our commentators are actual text commentators, because that's how you could do the creative story back then.
Yeah.
They jump through another portal. They end up in Smash Brothers. They end up in WWE All-Stars. They end up in Tekken. And then they end up at one of our events called Spring Break, which is kind of like our meme show.
Yeah.
And that's how it pretty much ended. At Spring Break, they end up at the top of the ladder. And Sophie and her dad actually did commentary for that for Spring Break as a whole.
Yeah.
So Sophie got her dad to actually do commentary for that little segment as well. So we thought of everything as far as we could and just make it as ridiculous as we could. And my favorite thing about this is that I tell people about this and they're like, this sounds so stupid. And they watch it and they're like, this was incredible. And anytime I need a laugh, I go back and go to our Discord, because Sophie actually went in and recorded the voice call that everybody was at, because they were doing a watch party of Endgame all together. And everybody was dying laughing. I listened to my entire community literally laugh for 7 minutes because of how ridiculous this all is. And everybody is just like literally like crying, laughing over the whole thing. And this was the day where we actually had a lot of new people watching the show. Mm-hmm. And I think because of that event, we picked up like 7 or 8 new people that are now still super active members of the community.
That is awesome. While you're telling the story, after this show, I'm gonna link you something that my community did, which is called Battle for Time and Space #4, because it's been 1, 2, 3. More or less, not there's no Derek, but the premise is that we have a guy called Ryu Matsumoto who's basically trash. The reason I call him trash is because one day on Xbox I was drunk, maybe 5-10 years ago, and I laid into him. I'm like, you're not good at the game. You're garbage. You're the worst player ever. So he took that gimmick. So, and now everyone loves him. But like, he's the best player. I mean, he's the worst. He's the worst player on the best squad. Like, because all that squad is legends, and he isn't. Like, they're all retired, and he's still here, and he's not a legend yet. So we make fun of him. But he's just like he's trash, basically. I don't know how to explain it. So there's another legend called Mugen, who's essentially like, Japanese Tony Stark. And the thing is, for some reason, I guess he was inspired by Joey Janela, like, because Janela would always do a thing during WrestleMania weekend. So during our Resolution, which is our WrestleMania, he would have a show. First it used to be a match, but the match would wind up being like, 40 minutes, like 60 minutes. Like, why is this so long? This is I don't need, you're killing me. This is ruining my show. So then it became its own thing. And it was its own thing, and it became like this production. And the premise is that Mugen is trying to capture Ryu and stop his trash and keep him in the cube. And if you ever seen the Cube movies, it's essentially that. So he's always trying to put him in the cube, and somehow he gets him in the cube at the end of Battle for Space and Time, and then somehow the son of a bitch always escapes before Lucian. So the last time he escaped was last season, was because me and this other guy who's like our permanent underdog, he like pissed me off. So we're like, I'm chasing him through like our Hall of Fame exhibit or whatever, and the cube is there, and I try to hit him with a baseball bat, and he moves out the way, and I wind up knocking over the cube, and then trash gets escaped. The premise, the same thing though. There's portals, there's multiple games, there's a lot of cameos, there's a lot of like fuckery, and I need you to check that out also, because again, it's like great minds think alike, bro. And you have Endgame, I have Endgames. And everyone was like, but it's Endgame. I'm like, no, but there's more than one match, so there's games.
Nice.
No one told me that for that pay-per-view's been around since like 2009. No one told me that until last year. I'm like, no, but there's there's more than one match. It's games.
Yeah.
But the same premise. Yeah.
The reason I named mine Endgame is because, well, it's the end of the game, the end of the season. It makes sense. And there's also like the fact that it's the phrase Endgame just makes sense. Also, screw Avengers because they stole our name and everybody was like, oh, you guys stole it from Avengers. Nah, we did ours like a year and a half before.
Yeah.
Jerks.
Oh my god, yeah. I gotta because when you were talking about the kaiju battle, like as I heard you talking about it on stream, and then you just tore it down like, yo, that is battle for space and time, son. And like we had like for example, at one point they wind up in like Mexico or whatever. So
I love it.
So Jake Allen is doing commentary in Spanish, legitimate Spanish. And I was howling because that at one point he's doing Spanish, but then he just starts doing the gimmick of like excuse saying gimmick, but he starts doing the thing of he's saying Spanish, but sometimes he's not calling what's happening. Like he'll just be like, he's like, my pants are on fire during like a nice headlock or whatever, stupid shit like that. But yeah, they wave race, also Tekken, also Fire Pro, one of the 2K games, wacky race, like just a bunch of nonsense and a bunch of like. I need you to check part of that out too, and I'm gonna check out the kaiju battle because I want to compare notes because it's like, yo, this is ridiculous, son. I knew I liked it for a reason.
Ridiculous stuff. So
it was same thing too. Like Cass was literally like I gotta go. I got my piss myself. Like it was so. And then like there was a cameo. Basically, it opened up with the guy who in canon and kind of doesn't really like us anymore. He found the DVD and he puts the DVD in. He's like, "What is this?" And then like he's and then he's watching it, and at the very end he breaks the DVD and he starts screaming because he's like, this anime bullshit. Like, why this is not? He's Jim Cornette. Like, this is not wrestling. He has a conniption fit, and it's the stuff that makes people happy, and it's like wackiness. So I need to compare this with the kaiju battle. You need to check out Battle for Space and Time 4 because it's like it's crazy. So moving right along. Where the hell am I? Oh, I mentioned the passion. Yes, I did. Oh, yes. This is like a barrage time. So you're really good with the memory, and I take that because you're younger, so you can remember everything, whereas I can't remember anything. So what would you say is your favorite show and why? And to follow it up, if you have a favorite match and why? And if you follow it up, a favorite video and why? Start with the first one, favorite show.
Show like as in wrestling or show?
Oh, no, CWL.
Oh, CWL show? Probably the most recent Battle Lines that we just did. Because that was episode 200 for us. Yeah, Battle Lines 4. That was our 200th episode as a whole in canon. So 200th main roster show. Our annual charity event. We always try and blow it out of the water every year. And this year was probably where we had the biggest community, the most support from so many people. And the first year that we did it, we were so new. It was our 40th episode at the time. And we actually got rated by New Legacy Inc. And I was like, holy crap. And then they ended up donating like $600 on top of what we already had. And so our total ended up being like 1131.08, I think. This year, we got no rates aside from World Z, who was helping us out. And we did this all ourselves. We cultivated everything. We grew everything. And we didn't get any massive donations from like one entity, kind of like New Legacy Inc. We got some massive donations from people, which was insane. But basically everything that we did together from a community, we ended up beating the first year record. We had a killer event. I ended up bringing people outside of CWL into the show.
Fly Def and I forgot the other one. Who's the other one?
Hyon.
Yes.
Yeah. So we ended up bringing them in for the charity show, and a lot of stories that a lot of people worked really, really hard to build up. All had their payoffs and everything. So it was just really cool to see everything unfold. And the funny thing about it is, I remember wrapping the show, and it didn't even feel like I just watched 16 matches because everything was just so good. So everybody walked away happy. We had a really incredibly feel good ending. It all just really came together. So I would say probably that is going to be really hard to top as my favorite event for a long time. After show, it was trying to think. It was show and then what?
Oh, sorry. It was show and then favorite match.
My favorite match. Oh, that's easy. Okay, so we have a special stipulation in CWL called Iron Tables, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's an Iron Man match, but with tables instead.
Yes.
So we ended up doing an Iron Tables match at an event called 0 Hour this season, where the score was 3-1. And it looked like we were going straight into a rematch at Merry Mayhem, which is basically our SummerSlam, our mid-season show.
Okay.
And it was going to be a rematch between two best friends for the main title. And that's what everybody wanted. And then the other guy was trying to get his first singles world title match. So it was win-win. Either way, we're going to have a good story. We had maybe 4 minutes left on the clock. The score was 3-1. And it was going to be like, all right, well, it looks like Harris is going to win, and et cetera, et cetera. And that's where the commentators went. And I told them, just call the match, and we're just going to, you guys just do what you guys do best. And literally Pistolero, the other guy, got a table break with 2 minutes to go. So it's like, oh, okay, so it's 3-2. Is he going to be able to pull it off? And then this dude, the AI, actually straight up says, nah, I want to tie. So they tied 3-3 with 4 seconds to go.
Nice.
And I didn't tell the commentators anything. So on commentary, they're just freaking out. They're like, does this mean we're going to overtime? Are we going to sudden death? Are we just going to do we have 2 contenders? What's going on? And so I actually recorded a special segment with me on camera with my suit because I'm the chairman and everything.
Sure.
And I was like, all right, guys. So we promised the people here in Dublin a win. So we're going to go into overtime. While that was playing, I muted everything except the recording because we sit down and actually do commentary together. Okay. And I told the commentators, I was like, hey, by the way, I lied to y'all. This match doesn't have a clean finish. We're going to overtime. Have fun. And I muted myself and I unmuted them. They're like, well, okay, we're going to overtime. And so I had to record an extra thing on top of that. And no one knew it was coming, not even the commentators. So their shock and their disbelief was 100% genuine. And then Pistolero ended up picking up the victory. So for Merry Mayhem, our main event was Pistolero finally getting his first singles world title match, which unfortunately he lost, but that is the nature of the beast.
Such is the nature. It can be a cruel mistress at time. And then the hat trick is your favorite video. Will it be Kaiju Battle?
What do we mean by video? Like hype package? Or
I guess that's a good question. Well, since you're mainly on Twitch, maybe let's pivot to whatever you want. So you could say hype package, we could say Twitch, we could even say YouTube video, whatever on your page. Anything regarding CWL, anything that falls under the umbrella of a video. So maybe you want to focus on the YouTube page for that one because there's all videos on YouTube.
A hype package. Well, I guess I would have 2 answers then, because for hype packages, it would be the Kel Valen undefeated streak video. It was Shadowban season 2. Kel Valen is like the CWL legend. She is the one that defied all the odds based on what we know from CWL. Because, in AI versus AI, you expect the AI to lose sometimes. Yes. And it always comes at the randomest times. This chick held the championship from episode 60 all the way to episode 148. I think. Jesus. Yeah, I think the numbers are right. So she actually held it for an entire season and a half. Even though we changed games, even though we put her up against other people whose momentum was insanely high, we gave her all the toughest people that were right there. For an entire season and a half, she would not drop the belt at all. It was the most insane thing we've ever seen. So again, we fixed nothing. We didn't say, oh, tonight you're going to drop the belt and, I play the game and I make sure that she drops the belt. Whatever happens, happens. That's rule number 1. So for the AI to actually go and say that, oh, you're going to hold the belt for a year and a half, even though we switched from 2K18 to 2K19, you're still going to be champion. Like, that's the most insane thing I've ever seen in a video game. It got to the point where she messaged me and she's like, Kirby, I don't want this belt anymore. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I can't just be like,
stop
oh, we're
winning,
dropping
Hoot.
it.
Stop winning.
And so when she won the belt, the at Endgame 1, about 2 months later, she actually lost to somebody named Rox. And it was like a big, like, earth-shattering moment because Kel Valen hadn't lost for such a long time. So everybody's like, oh shit, Kel lost to Rox. So Kel actually put the belt on the line in a rematch at the pay-per-view, which she won because, you know, she kept the belt for a long time. But the video that was played before that match was amazingly well done. And that was made by Kel. And it was basically without voices, just music and graphics. It was able to beautifully tell the story of the unstoppable rise of Kel Valen, and then how it just came to a screeching halt because of Rox. So as far as hype videos go, that's my favorite one. Just videos as a whole, like not technically canon. The Neon Panther video, I still laugh at that from time to time. And there's a reason why that and the Kaiju battle are separate videos from their entirety, like from the shows where they belong to.
I feel that. I need you to send me that hype package when you get a chance. Because after this, we're gonna compare some notes because I don't know. I see too many parallels. It's freaking me out a little bit. So, so moving right along. With the current climate of video games, of wrestling video games, you know, there's a bunch on the horizon. Do you see CWL branching out to any of the new systems, like maybe AEW, maybe the Wrestling Code, or are you just gonna stick with you're on 19 now, right?
Yeah, we're on 19.
Okay, how come not 20?
Because I heard it was hella broken.
Yeah, smart man.
We have 3-4 different people from the community or from the production team that actually got it, and they gave me so many horror stories. I'm like, okay, we can't run universe mode. Nope. We can't put cause in there.
Nope.
And then it'll crash.
Yep.
Yeah, we're not moving. So we stuck to 19 and we stuck to our guns.
Yeah, I spoke to indie guy, Toxic Trent, maybe a week and a half ago. He was also on the episode before you, and he uses 20 for universe mode. I'm like, what made you pick 20? He's like, it was on sale, and it was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. He's like, and he's telling me like the heart. I'm like, wow. He's like, why you keep using it? He's like, well, I have it already, and I have a thing. I'm like, oh, you gotta do what you gotta do. Hoot. Sometimes you gotta know when to hold them, know when to fold them. So. You see yourself maybe jumping to 2K22, or you're gonna stick with 19?
I'm gonna leave that to the community, like I always do. I personally am incredibly cautiously optimistic.
Nice.
The Wrestling Code is going to be perfect because they're listening a lot to their fans.
Yes.
And they're listening a lot to EFED owners, which I think is both good and bad because, you know, we all run different feds and everything.
Yeah.
A lot of us know what we want, but there's no way to just listen to one person say this is right because I run things different. You run things different. Worldly runs things different. So I don't want it to be just like my game. I want it to be perfect for everybody. But from what I've seen, it really looks like the Wrestling Code is going to be the one that I prefer. But like I said, ultimately, I'm going to leave it up to the community. And I'm scared that my entire community is going to be split. But I'll cross that bridge when we get there. And ultimately, and I've toyed with this idea, and I've said it out loud several times before, but I think it would be really cool if I split all 3 of my shows to where Vindication is the WWE game, Nemesis is the AEW game, and Genesis is the Wrestling Code game. And then I run 3 shows that are under the CWL banner, but everybody gets their game that they want to go into.
It's ambitious.
I don't know how possible it is, but I won't know till I try.
Yeah.
But I also won't know until the games come out and I get to test them to see what works, what doesn't work, and what I can and can't do in each one.
That's the best part of a player versus player league every year for a new game. Like this will be the 3rd year that we've been using 19, and last year was a little tough, but this year we changed some rules around. We added a thing called sudden death, which is basically you can end the move off any kind of pin. So if if you get thrown off the top rope and pinned, if you don't kick out, you can lose. So a match can go super short. So that gave a lot of revitalization into the match because it adds an element of uncertainty and it helps a lot of people. It especially works well for underdogs. we haven't really
Yeah.
seen it, but it keeps you on your toes. So you have to do these things. So these people don't, like the developers, they don't know that these systems and platforms, they have so much nuance that you have to look after.
Yeah.
That being said, since you do use AI versus AI, if you had a choice, would you prefer the AI that you have now? Or would you prefer something more like Fire Pro Logic, but with 3D of the 2K series?
I have heard nothing but incredible things about the Fire Pro AI,
Mhm.
and a lot of my community has said if we had the Fire Pro AI in the 2K game, it would be the perfect game.
Mhm.
So anything that can let us continue what we do and really leave it up in the hands of the AI, that's what I want. Because I never want to have a moment where I can pick the winner, because then that starts leading me down a road of, oh, I'm just going to pick my favorites. Because obviously I have my favorites.
Yeah.
I like some characters better than others. And
Yep.
that's not a knock on my community, but that's just because I personally like these characters because they're funny to me or something. But I want it to continue to where I don't care who your character is. Come in here, tell me a fantastic story. Let's have fun, and let's let the AI decide everything. It's like Dungeons and Dragons. When you go into a Dungeons and Dragons game, you roll the dice, and you're like, "Hey, okay, I rolled a 1. What does that mean?" Well, it means that your head just got chopped off by a tree that you didn't see as you're riding the horse. Bye. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to be. Whatever happens, happens.
Oh
That's
my
literally
God.
the heart of this.
Dog. Yo, my tagline on everything, it's D&D for wrestling nerds. Stop it.
Exactly.
You're just like the young me, son. Jesus Christ. You're like alternate reality me is bugging because same shit. You gotta this leads me to my next question. I already thanked you for the sub, but the question after that is before that, it's a talent that people don't appreciate, the ability to be impartial and fair when you do this kind of thing, because in this type of endeavor, there's always favorites and whatnot, but it takes a very special kind of person to say, regardless of how much I may or may not like you, I am not going to, do anything to hinder your progress as long as you are doing the work that is required, or in your case, as long as you're putting forward the stories that are required. And that's just that's basically telling we're both awesome. Anyway, moving on. How this is a kind of a curveball, but I'm gonna ask you because, as I said before, how do you practice mindfulness? Because you seem to be a very thoughtful person, and I don't know how the hell you just be thoughtful. Teach me, sir.
I guess. I mean, I'm an open book. There's nothing that I hide. I'm very open about this. Like growing up, my dad didn't give me that to myself, and my mom, as much as she tried, she never really gave me that validation that I needed for myself.
Okay.
She always just kind of looked at everything I did, was like, okay, yeah, that looks cool, and then she went back to work. And my mom provided an incredible amount of stuff for us, so I'm always appreciative of her. My dad, on the other hand, before he passed away, he was always very cold, always very me thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm the weirdo that took that, and instead of growing bitter and just being like, well, I'm gonna do the same because nobody cares about it.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm gonna show people that it's possible to have a pretty crappy upbringing, but still be something to look forward to. I have always been a hopeless romantic.
Okay.
I have always been a very big dreamer. And have you ever watched the movie Dinner for Schmucks?
Yes, but because I have head trauma, I don't remember. I only remember vague bits and pieces. Go ahead.
So there's a line in that movie that's just struck me so well, because Steve Carell is like, this idiot basically.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts quoting, I think it was the Beatles, is like, people call me a dreamer, but I'm not. And for some reason that just like always struck to me, because the ending of the lyric is like, but I'm not the only one. And so always just having to correct the Paul Rudd, his character, always having to correct him and stuff. That's how I feel. I feel like Paul Rudd is like, people are like, oh, this is impossible. I'm like, not possible yet. And, I always like to keep that hopefulness of, you don't know what tomorrow brings. So why not put your best foot forward and try and do the best that you can today? That way, tomorrow it might be possible. Don't ever leave the question of what if, because what if is the number one killer to the human race, in my opinion.
Great, great goddamn answer. I ain't got nothing for that. That's beautifully well spoken. Like, I don't know, man. I grew up rough, but it wasn't bad. But I think what happened to me is basically what you said was not gonna happen to you. Like, we had it, and then at one point we didn't have it. Like, basically, when we was in New York, and we would have family over and whatever, and if people needed a place to stay or they needed money, my folks would help them. And I always said, like, oh man, this is it teaches you to be good. So my folks got divorced, and we was on rough times. We needed help. Nobody helped, son. I had to steal chicken at one point. So that got me in the mood. I was like, you know what? Because I was like, hey, you help people, and then when you need help, no one helps you, so you got to do it yourself. And that stuck with me ever since. So like now, the way I am is I don't really vibe with my family, but the friends that I have, those are the people like, whatever you need, I got you. But and that kind of applies to what I do now in the sense that I value loyalty, and that's basically it. Like if you show me loyalty, if you show me that you about it, I got your back. But if you not, kick rocks. Nothing bad, but like kick rocks. It is what it is. I wish I could be more like you, but I might just be set in my ways, man. Yeah. Hopefully and happy. You really are basically like invert. You like the. I guess I will be Reverse Flash and you would be Flash, so we'll keep it that way. I'll be Eobard Tharn. It was me, Kirby. Let me stop. What's the next question? Oh, we got bonus questions because I actually asked my community and they actually gave me some questions. Some of which are stupid. Some of them are okay. So the first,
it's all good. There's no such thing as a stupid question.
Oh no, I'll surprise you. So Stupid Ty asks, "What is your favorite color?"
Red.
Fantastic. Why? I don't know. I like blood.
Yeah, no. I mean, red's always just been my favorite color. I think it pops really, really well. And almost every single gear I make for my characters almost always has to have red because I have a problem with always just loving red on everything.
All red everything.
Yep.
Oh, we have from this might be the same question from the two different people, but I guess I'll ask in order. El Parker asks, "What is your favorite thing about the community?" Or I guess it would be your community, or maybe let's do two about the community, meaning the creative wrestler community, and then about your community.
From the community as a whole, some of the creativity that some people bring to the table is incredible, and you don't even have to be a wrestling fan to enjoy what we do. Because you can honestly have absolutely no idea of, what a pump handle slam is. You can have absolutely no idea what a clothesline is. You don't even need to know what an ushigoroshi is. You can just be like, oh, he just slammed him there after wrapping his arm up. He just took his head off with his arm there. Or you can be like, oh, he just dropped his neck on his knee. Like, you don't have to say like the wrestling terms, if you will. Mm-hmm. People can enjoy just a good story, and some of the creativity that some people bring that haven't been wrestling fans in my community, and some of the communities that I've seen in other feds and everything. That's what I love. I love creative people. And I hate it whenever somebody says something creative and then people are like, well, that's stupid. It's like, no, it's not. It's amazing that your imagination thought of something this awesome and you actually took the time to expand it and make it come to life. That's how art comes to be, So that the creativity by far is some of my favorite things in the community as a whole. From my community, our sense of family, as you mentioned in the previous question, there was something you said that you don't vibe with your family, but you vibe with your friends.
Yes,
I believe in my heart that family is the people you choose, not who you're born into.
Nice.
So for CWL to be my family away from my real stuff that I have going on and everything, that means the world to me, because I know that if I need to talk to somebody and maybe not necessarily something that I want to talk to my mom or my sister, sometimes even my wife about. I'm just like, hey, I'm just going to go to somebody like Cassius, go to somebody like Sophie, go to somebody like Mikey. Just there's people that I can trust when shit gets really, really heavy and my mental health is not at a good place. I can go to one of them, and it's the way that the human race has evolved and everything. Sometimes it's just easier to type it all out rather than just say it. So I'm one of those people that I like talking. I can talk for ages, as this is proven so far.
Oh, don't worry about it. This is great.
I love writing as well. I love all of that stuff. So whether I need to say it out loud or whether I need to type it, if I just feel more comfortable typing it at the time, that's just honestly what I love about my community as a whole. Just our sense of family. And anybody that comes in, we're going to welcome you in with a big hug. Hey, tell us about your character. We want to hear your story, and we're going to make you feel at home right off the bat.
Yeah, you really are just you really are Flash, and I really am Zoom, because you come to my spot and it's like, what's your finish, rookie? Good, I ain't telling it. I swear to God, I just had this argument today, like with somebody, because like when rookies come in, it's player versus player, so you got to compete, but it will just it will use you like a chew toy. And back in the day, it used to be like, you'll fight a veteran, they won't go easy on you, but they won't try to murder you, right? Mm-hmm. And then, and if you can't seal the deal, they'll seal it for you and take the W. And then you do that once or twice. And then your third match is my guy, Kelvin, who's a preacher and who's also, loves calling people sissies, and he doesn't have a computer, so he does his role plays via YouTube, and he'll type them on his phone, and it's fine because it's him. He's a legend. And then he'll beat the piss out of you. Nowadays, you come in and they just, if you're not good, you're not good, and you get, dog walked. And I'm like, oh, man, be not, let them. But again, I tell them it's not wins and losses, but, So basically, everyone, with you, CWL, you get a hug. With OCW, someone might doodle in your bag. It is what it is. What are you going to do? Randy. Oh, you guys. And I love my people, but damn, man, we really are a pirate ship. I feel like I control a pirate ship of insane people. And you ever seen Spider-Man when he's holding two halves of the boat and trying to hold it together with the spider? That's me. I'm like, hold it together, please. They're wild animals. I feel like the damn what's he called, Steve Irwin, but he died, so maybe that's not the best idea. Anyway, Max Edwards, he always has good questions, but they're very verbose. He says, what is something, whether it be a person, character, or just an aspect of this community, your community in this case, that you were completely wrong about at first? Elaborate. It's a deep one, right? Yeah.
Something that I was wrong about.
Yeah, whether it be a person, maybe a character, or an aspect of the community that you were wrong about, that you were wrong about at first.
I think it may have been probably the fact that I thought everybody was trying to keep everybody else down.
Okay.
If you will. Like
That's fair.
When I hopped in, I always thought EFEDs never helped each other. And when they did, it was only to get something out of the other person. And
it's not wrong.
I feel that's a very common thing that people think, especially when you're starting. Because I'm on the same boat where now I've been going for 3.5, almost 4 years now, and I have people that's like, hey, can I promote on your channel? Can I do this? Can we team up and do this? And I was like, okay, let me think about it. Are you here to just use my name, or are you here to actually be part of the community? And I've even had people that, I've worked with FAM, I've worked with this, and I'm like, okay, that literally means nothing to me. So I don't care who you work with, because they don't do things the way that I do.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to exclude you. I'm just trying to make sure that you're the right fit, because I know that I do things differently. You do things differently. Their shows do things differently. And I don't know how it's going to work. So for you to be here on day one, be like, hey, can we co-promote? I'm like, I don't know. You don't even have an episode, and I have 200 now. So it's not of me trying to grandstand you or anything. It's just I want to make sure that this is a right fit for both of us, because I have no problem helping people. I tell people all the time on my channel, if you want to start an EFED, go for it. You can literally get from my community if you want wrestlers here. I don't care. But don't just do that, because then basically you're not creating a relationship with those you're working with. You're just trying to grab people. And that's, I don't want to say that that's wrong, but it's not the right way. So that's always what I thought of, like how it always was with everybody. It's like, oh, everybody's gonna think that I'm just trying to steal people. But I was, again, ever since I moved back to Twitch, I've seen that that's very wrong. World Z and I, again, we have a great relationship of, I don't want to say sharing viewers, but I mean, that's pretty much what we do. Some people have left me for him, which is cool. I love it. I'm glad that they found a format that works better for them. Same thing for him. He's lost some people to me. And it goes both ways. For Defixa, same thing. For Erevander, who runs the UCW, same thing. And how it has affected me, it has really, now that I'm on the other end, it has really made me appreciate those that are trying to build, and really appreciate the creatives that want to do something different, because then I want to put my stock in them, because who knows, maybe one day CWL shuts down because something happens, and now I can be like, well, here's my entire community, have at it. Now this is yours, type of thing. So that's probably the biggest shock to me, that when I realized that the community wasn't really like that, which was I was actually very grateful for, because again, you never know when people are going to use you for clout.
Oh, that's a conversation I have with a couple people. I won't name names because I don't want to put them on blast, because who knows who the hell he listens to this, and I ain't about that. I mean, I'm about drama, but not about me with the drama. It's funny, but I think I wanna agree with you, say, but I also want to disagree in the sense that I think it's because the Twitch variant is very, like, what's the word? It's not nonchalant or blasé. They're very supportive. I feel like the YouTube Twitter coefficient, not so much. I just get this vibe on the Twitch stuff that, like, those guys, like Nighthawks, I see it on occasion too. I see the Mastodon fella. I see you. Is World C on the World C, or?
He's his channel is World Z, but his Fed is called the WWA.
I think I've seen them. Like, what is he? He's usually on when you're on too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe I have seen him. I don't know, because like I said, I only go usually for the pay-per-views, because I'm not good with Twitch and whatnot. So it's only the pay-per-views, and I sometimes when I'm doing the pay-per-views, I'll see you. Hey, CWL. So like, I don't know. It just seems those guys are more like collaborative and just kind of chill and normal, as opposed to YouTube, which is just a bunch of like oh man, some of this, I'll tell you off camera, some of the stuff I heard just gets me graded. Like the same thing with the podcast. Like, hey man, I like what you're doing. Would you like to go on? Sure, no problem. Let's figure it out. As opposed to sometimes I go and I get like this like I'm like, yo, I'm from the Bronx. Shut the fuck up, son. You don't mean like I had to steal chicken when I was 9 years old. I don't care about you, son. I got shot at. Like, just stop. Yes or no. Don't waste my time. I won't waste yours to keep it moving. Like, I ain't got time for this. Like, come on, son. But anyway, great answer. Sorry, I get in my bag sometimes.
It's all good. I fully get that.
Oh my god, sometimes the internet's so stupid. There actually are two questions from Valkyrie. Valkyrie, the first question is, what have you learned from your time spent producing for Booker T? And did you develop a skill set that was useful for your EFED related content?
The biggest skill from learning from Booker T was definitely how a television show should run in a TV aspect. So a lot of people don't realize that television is structured into blocks. There's a reason why everybody hits that suicide dive to go to commercials. There's a reason everybody always looks at the hard cam when they're doing their promos. There's a reason why everybody has times, And it wasn't until I got into the booking meetings and I got to be a fly on the wall for those that I really started realizing just how much of that really goes into creating a phenomenal show. A lot of people want to have the 20-minute Okada Kenny Omega matches. That's like, oh my God, that was amazing. But how many times can you do that on one card before it gets stale?
Yep.
How many times can you do that on a card before people are like, okay, it's already been 6 hours and we're barely on match 3. Fuck. Like, you know, there's a spot for everybody, but everybody wants to be the main guy, and that's not always going to be possible. So learning that and bringing it to the CWL, I think, and this is going to be me gloating for a second, and I apologize to any listeners out there that think I'm now grandstanding you, but
don't apologize.
I have learned so much from Booker, and I feel that I actually have one of the most like TV centric EFEDs out there. My show feels like a television show. We go from segment to segment, and the only thing I can't control is the actual match times. That's the one thing that I haven't been able to figure out because, well, I can't because it's AI versus AI. Sorry, I had to sneeze. So I had to move myself.
It's fine.
So my all my people that turn in voice promos or segments, if you go ask any of them what I asked from them from a promo, I will tell them you can't go over 2 minutes. And if you do, make sure that there's a beatdown segment, make sure that there's this, make sure that there's that. Because if you stand up there with a microphone in your hand for 5 minutes nonstop, going in circles, you're going to lose everybody. And I'm not going to have that on my show because then, you know, you're going to bore everybody. So, you know, it's a quality aspect. And there's a reason everything happens on the show. So I bring that mentality with me over to CWL. I've had people turn in 7-minute promos and I'm like, bruh, I'm not using this. Like, I appreciate you putting in the work, but unless you cut it down to 2 minutes or you're okay with me cutting it down, I'm not using it. And they've been okay with that because they're like, yo, you know what? You're right. I listened back to this. I got really bored halfway through. I was like, there you go. This is not me saying this. This is me using the knowledge from Booker to put this down here. So that's what I ended up doing. And the skill, that's probably the biggest skill that I take from that. I'm proud of the fact that I can put my show up against something like Raw, and I guarantee you people will be more entertained by my show than WWE Raw. I fully believe that.
That's a bold statement, Kirby.
It is, but I absolutely 100% mean it. I tell everybody that ever since we began season 4, I am now comfortable with my show being put up against actual wrestling that you would find on YouTube, that you would find, you know, with an indie fed somewhere out there. Yeah. And I guarantee you people will enjoy my show and they'll want to tune in next week to find out what happens more than they would that other indie show. Guaranteed.
I love it. Love the bold.
That's again me just being on my high horse, being like that we're the best.
You got to say you're the best. You know why I'm laughing though? Because see, I don't have the benefit of Booker T, but I do have the benefit. Like, there's been a lot of wrestlers who've been at my spot, like, you know, years or whatever. Some guy, you know, Progress, WWE, ICW, yada yada yada. So a lot of them like, oh, you're like a good promoter. Now I'm gonna toot my own horn. Lol. I don't pay anybody. But the thing is that when you said the segment time, we have a guy who cuts I mentioned KD, the Kelvin. The reason people love him now, he's been here since 2006. The reason people love him now is because he does promos on his phone, whether he's driving or whatever. And he did one 2 weeks ago where he basically shitted on 6 different people, like intertwining all these different storylines in about 1 minute and 5. It was amazing. Like, he's just succinct and he got it. Mm-hmm. We have another guy who's also really good at promos, but he's long-winded. Mm-hmm. So I told him, I'm like, yo, this is like, whenever we have a segment, I'm like, yo, just keep it. Give me 2 minutes. Give me 2:30 or whatever. You know, don't cut, like you said, too long. If it's too long, people are going to whatever. There was one guy who did a long-winded promo, and I'm like, you know what, fuck it. It went on the thing, and then we're in Twitch, and people on Twitch are just like, the numbers are going down. Then on the Discord, like, oh my God, it's still going. Da, 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 da. It's like, I told you. What did I tell you? Like, you gotta play the deal. Like, we have another character who's called the Turbo Thought, and I'm always worried that she's gonna get me kicked off of Twitch. So I'm like, please wear pants. And you know, her segments are super short. It's like for a reason, because you just gotta you don't want to waste people's time unless whatever you're gonna put forth is entertaining. There was supposed to be like the one cardinal rule is the show gets booked, the pay-per-view gets booked, the card is the card. There is no, hey, I did a match, use it. No. Who the hell? No. So that's the one time. So somebody submitted a video and they said, oh, I submitted a match. I'm like, well, I'm not going to, this wasn't booked, but if you want, cut it down and we'll use it as a segment. So I said, give me 8 minutes. They gave me 9 minutes. I was like, So I watched the segment. I'm like, this is technically a match, but it's also a segment, but it's really well produced. I'm going to use it. And it went over like gangbusters. So like you said, it's a matter of being entertaining. And there's people who will do a 9-minute video, a 9-minute beatdown or a 5-minute beatdown. And you're like, this could have been over at 1:45, at a minute 45. Why is it still going? Like, come on, guys. You're better than that. I just find that funny because you started saying this is too long. I was like, oh my God, you're basically just young happy me at this point, and I'm here for it. I support you. Wholeheartedly. Valkyrie's next question. If you had, we may have covered this, but screw it. Why not? If you had to describe what's special about your community in one word, what would that word be?
Family.
Hey. I knew it. I knew it. Good for you. Okay. So we're about to wrap up. So the next question is, and we'll see how we get. What is your hottest take on wrestling? And this could be the current wrestling product. This could be wrestling games. This could be the call community or whatever in general. What is your current hottest take right now? Feel free to turn on the flamethrower, Kirby.
Okay, so my current hottest take, and I actually covered this on Thursday on my stream.
Okay.
But basically, I think that the community, like the fans, the wrestling fans, need to understand that everybody has a spot. Not everybody can be at the top of the card. But you have to believe that everything is going to work out. As much as you may think that Vince McMahon is an idiot, as much as you may think that the higher-ups don't know what the hell they're doing, which sometimes is right, but at the end of the day, it's their company, their money, they can do whatever the hell they want.
Yes.
The people behind the characters are going to get paid regardless of what you think. If you really support these wrestlers, then support them, even if the company is shitty. Because then that company is making them get paid. They worked hard to get to that spot. If they're not happy, they're going to leave. Look at the Revival. Look at Rusev. Look at Andrade. Everybody that is not happy is going to leave, and they're going to be happier. And the reason for that is because they know their worth, and they're going to go to where they're happy. Bill Alfonso taught me this himself, that if you work hard, the company is going to see your value, and you just, no matter what they give you, do your best. Because my favorite thing is what that same night that Bill Alfonso taught me that was the same night that Heath Slater won the SmackDown Tag Team titles. And it really brought everything full circle, because Heath Slater was given the Social Outcast storyline. He was given the Slater Gator stuff. He was the free agent, all that stuff. And it seemed like so dumb and so unimportant, but he was always entertaining. And so how did WWE pay that back? Now, whenever anybody looks at the title history of the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, no matter which way you slice it, Heath Slater's name is on there as the first ever SmackDown Tag Team Champion.
Couldn't have said it better. Go ahead.
He works so hard to get to that spot. And no matter whatever you think of the company as a whole, they paid that back. And now his name is on that forever. So keep supporting the people that you like, but don't shit on the company, because it's their company. They can do what they want. And if you don't like it, just turn it off. There's so many other places out there. Go watch Impact. Go watch AEW. Go watch MLW. Go watch Raw. Obviously.
Yeah. Tell them. Like, I'm not a WWE guy anymore for the most part, because I grew out of it, and it is what it is, because I was a hardcore fan for like all the iterations, and I ain't a fan. It was all good. So, but this is the conversation I have with a lot of wrestlers too, and it's like, when you sit there and you make these dumb Kevin Owens, you should leave and go to AEW. They'll treat like, no, bro. My, it's a paycheck. It's not crazy right now because of Rona, people are, it's less travel, less, you basically just have one central area you got to get to. So it's not crazy on traveling. You provide it for your family. Shut up. You don't, like you said, you don't like it. I'll talk nonsense every now and again because, I'm an AEW mark, whatever. But even that, I have my equivocations on. But it's like, yo, you should just be happy that there's competition so that these athletes or whatever you want to call them, they have a place to go, or there can be a bidding war, or they'll get an extension on their contract, or they'll get extra money because it's like, I don't want him to go to AEW, I don't want him to go to WWE, so here's some more money. You want these people to succeed, so even if they're not on TV every day, they can be, collecting a paycheck, and if they're happy with that, that's good. Be happy for that. Be happy Rey Mysterio's making way more than he did on his entire career because they wanted to go to AEW and he wants to look out for his son. Be happy. Like I hate when they do that. I hate when wrestling fans do that. Like, I don't like wrestling fans at all, to be honest with you. Like, wrestling fans annoy the hell out of me. Not only that,
some
but
of them are okay.
Some of them are all right. Some of them are all right, but the body odor, bro, it's like, it's ridiculous. Anyway.
Oof, yeah.
So it's crazy. So I kind of want to ask you about drama, but I want to bug you, so we'll keep moving on. I'll say that off camera. What are your long-term goals for CWL? And this is a stupid long question, so let's just do the 1 in 5. And I know at one point you mentioned that you kind of want to do like Esionike, like a watch along kind of thing, but actual live watch along. Which that idea they do that for podcasts nowadays. Some podcasts, well, before Rona. Like, they'll have a live podcast and they'll have like a studio audience while they're doing their podcast. So when you said that, when you said your idea, I immediately thought, oh yeah, I get that. It's basically like a live Discord party watching the show with you, in addition to the people in the Twitch watching the show with you as well. So that being said, give us the goals, man. 1 year, 5 year.
Okay, so we're about to wrap up on season 4. So I'm going to go ahead. By the end of season 5, I would like to financially be able to call this my job.
Yes.
I think that we're on the precipice of it, especially because now not only do we have the Twitch that is bringing me money with my monthly payments for my subscriptions and everything. Now I just opened up a Patreon that we actually got the first month yesterday. And I have a lot of cool things on there that people can add, like extra streams and, so on and so forth. I have my YouTube, which I'm currently working on trying to get that monetized. That's why all of our episodes that we put on there, I ensure that everybody on the main roster, since the full replay is on YouTube, everybody has to use copyright-free music. That way, whenever we do reach that partnership level, I don't have to worry about it. Everybody already has copyright-free music and everything.
Yeah.
So, when we get there, that's going to be another source of income. So that's what I would like by the end of season 5. I would like to financially be able to call this my job. Now, for the 5-year plan, that's when I would like to start traveling. I have said several times already that I want to start with the big 3. Merry Mayhem in December, Battle Lines in April or March, and Endgame in July. Those 3 are going to have specific locations picked out to where I will actually go and host the event at that location. So, for example, if I say, Merry Mayhem's going to be in Chicago, Illinois, I will actually travel to Chicago, rent out a bar or a location or something, and sell maybe 20 to 50 tickets. And we're going to have CWL fans just hang around, come together, watch the pay-per-view live as I stream it from that location. But when I did my Battle Line show, I had the matches, and then in between some of them, I talked to the audience and everything. I'm going to take my camera, my whole setup with me, and I'm going to do it right there. Like, hey, guys, look, we're actually right here in Chicago. And then I point behind me, and then all the CWL fans are like, yeah, and, kind of just like excited that they're there and everything. And it's like, just kind of do like the whole actual live event thing. So the show itself will be playing on a projector somewhere in the venue. And then at the same time, it'll be streaming to the Twitch. So that way, when match endings happen at the show itself, it'll be like the actual crowd feeling that we're all going to pop for the big win, or, we're all going to count the 1, 2, 3 because our guy won or something like that,
Gotcha.
So that's the goal for that. Eventually, maybe by the 5-year, I would like to do that for every single pay-per-view, to where every month I'm traveling to a different location. And the beauty of that is I want to do this worldwide. I've actually already selected the first year where we're going to go. Me and my wife have already decided that we're going to go to Canada, to Hawaii, and to England. Those are our 3 places that we want to go to for the first year we get to do this. Hawaii, because it's kind of just a really nice place, and it's also not really a joke. It started kind of as a joke. Mm-hmm. That's where the CWL headquarters is at. So I was like, I kind of want to go see where CWL is actually at in person,
Yeah.
And then England, because we have a lot of English viewers, which I'm very appreciative of all of them.
Best wrestling fans.
And Canada, just because a lot of my friends are also Canadian, and I've always just wanted to go to Canada. I think it'd be really, really cool to go to Canada.
Canada's awesome. Went to Halifax in 2014. Loved every minute of it.
Nice.
So it's amazing. So you got 2 good ones. So what about the elusive 10-year plan?
10-year, that'll be what, like season 15? Oh, hold on. I actually think I know exactly what my answer for this one is. One day, because again, I'm a dreamer, I decided to look and see what milestones I'm gonna hit by certain times. So episode 300 is actually gonna happen in season 6. Episode 400 is gonna happen in season 8. Episode 500 is gonna happen in season 10, and episode 600 is actually going to be Endgame. So I want to get to the fact where not only a season finale, it's not only going to be a season finale, but also 100 episode celebration. So that's in about 10 years or so. So I want to get to episode 600. That way I can say it's the end of the season. We made it to Endgame 12. Look at us, episode 600.
Nice.
How did we get here?
Nice. I had a 500 episode. It was great, and I had a 200 episode. So you'll definitely do it up, and you'll definitely love it. That wasn't me trying to top. I was just,
it's all good.
I gotta add my stuff. I'm sorry. It's just like we're very similar, so I have to add it. I had to add it. So that looks. I mean, the way you're going, you'll definitely hit it, and it'll definitely be a super event. So we're coming towards to the very end. So one of the last question is, do you have any advice for someone starting off on Twitch?
Find your niche. What makes you different than every other EFED out there? Because if you're going to go out there and say, I'm the best EFED, well, good luck stepping up to us, because we've been doing this for a long time. And I don't say that in a bad way. But I have had a lot of people try and come in. They're like, hey, come check out my EFED. I'm like, okay. And I go check out one episode, and the quality's not there. And obviously because they're starting. Yeah. And shit, I go back and look at my episodes, and I laugh at how horrible I was. But here I am now, 3.5 years later. What is going to make yours stand out from the rest? If you're a comp fed, how are you going to stand away from OCW? If you are I don't know what they're called, like a segment fed, I'm not sure, like fam. Like what is going to separate you from fam? If you're going to be an AI fed, what's going to separate you from CWL? Like, you gotta find your niche, and you gotta find what makes you you. Don't copy somebody else, because that's not your work.
Honestly, son, we should we should do a seminar for some of these cats. I dead ass, son.
We're going to charge $60 a ticket.
You want to make some money, son? That's how you make some money on a seminar. Like, welcome to the EFED 101 seminar. Your host, Kirby and Jay, and everybody else in between who else. We get one from everybody, and we teach them what's up. And the final part of the segment, which everyone loves, it is plug all of your things, Hoot. All of your stuff. Get all of your socials and everything.
You can find me on Twitter for my own personal thoughts at Kirby CWL. Don't be offended if I don't follow back, because I don't follow too much EFED stuff on that one. But I do follow it on the CWL Universe Twitter. So if you get followed back by that one, that's how you know that I was actually paying attention. I I'm also on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitch, everywhere you can find me at CWL Universe. And if you want to see some damn good independent wrestling, check out Reality of Wrestling as well. I am a production assistant for them, and we actually just had 3 people signed to 3 different companies. So, you know, we're making moves. We're making moves.
Power moves. That's all. You ain't got no other plug, bro? No t-shirt sales or anything?
Oh, we have a merch store.
There you go. See, you're welcome.
We have a Redbubble. If you look up CW Universe, you'll find it. I think that's all I have.
All right.
I think
well,
that's all I have.
I expected some more pomposity, but hey, it is what it is. Stay humble. So,
I'm a simple man. I'm a simple man.
So that's gonna do it with us. This was, as always, a wonderful conversation. I want to thank Kirby for coming on. And as always, my friends, if you'd like to be a guest, you know what to do. Hit me up on Twitter at OCWFed. And that's gonna be the show. Have a wonderful night. Take care. God bless, and everything in between. Bye-bye. Y'all still with us? I hope you enjoyed it. That was a great conversation with my man Kirby. And hopefully in the future we do a couple more in addition to that. So that's going to be the show. Thank you for listening as always. And feel free to like and subscribe on the YouTube page. And leave a positive review on Apple, Spotify, and everything in between. And also, if you want to be a guest, it is super duper simple to become a guest on This Will Be Named Later. All you guys to do is hit me up on the good old-fashioned Twitter machine or Gmail at OCWFed. On Gmail? How's that work? gmail.com/OCWFed. Yeah, that'll probably work. One of those. Anyway, OCWFed at Gmail. That's the address, and you can hit me up, and we can talk it out. That's it. Okay, bye.